Hi everybody, welcome to Bomb Mom Chronicles. Today we have a special guest. You see one of the Bomb Moms are missing, Kemi, our sister. She wasn't feeling well, but we do have a special surprise. We have Miss Lacy here. Please introduce yourself to the people.
Balance, Love, and Light. My name is Lacy Taylor. I am the CEO of Rest Assured Consulting, LLC, which is a mental health consulting firm. And we focus on making mental health more accessible, mental health care accessible and affordable to everyone.
Right. Because I feel like I was just telling her before we started the show, you guys, thank you for joining. Gift Cash King, Arthur, Najee, thank you for joining us. Everybody who's joining us live, I just introduced our special guest, Miss Lacy here. We have her in place of our other sister, Bomb Mom Kemi. She wasn't feeling well, but we're going to be giving you guys some information on mental health today. You guys already know Erica, our other Bomb Mom, my other sister. So we are here live, back and live and ready, and we're so excited to have you. Thank you for coming on our show, Miss Lacy.
We're so excited.
My pleasure.
She's so cool,
me.
you guys.
She's so cool and she's so smart. I cannot wait till you guys get inside her brain.
We were having a conversation. No, we were having a conversation with her before we started, and she has some great information. I feel like that's what I was gonna say before we started the show. We were having a little conversation, and I feel like a lot of there's a negative stigma around mental health, counseling, therapy. People think that it's a bad thing or that it can be a negative thing, but it's actually, we need that as human beings, I think, to be able to vent to somebody or to get our feelings out or to get good advice or just guidance. You know, for people who don't have it, it's a healthy thing. It's not a bad thing at all. So let's jump right into it. Thank you everybody for joining. You guys go ahead and start your watch parties for us so we can get this thing on a ball and rolling. Our first topic, mental health. We're going to be talking about postpartum. So I have... Hey, Miss Tamika. Hey, thank you for joining us. Go ahead and start your watch parties. We're just talking about mental health here. We have a special guest, Miss Lacy. We're just about to get into our questions that we have. We're about to pick her brain.
Let's get it.
So, Miss Lacy, can you please tell us what are some of the signs of postpartum depression? And then I have some follow-up questions.
Okay. So some signs of postpartum depression are, one, you're very irritable. Mm-hmm. Two, you don't have any will to do the things that you usually love mm-hmm. or like to do. For instance, if you like to go running, you don't run. You can't get up to run. Even if you got all of your willpower and said, I'm going to get up,
no, can't do it. Yeah.
That's depression.
Yeah.
You don't eat. You have some sleep patterns, so insomnia, or you sleep too much.
Yeah.
And just an overall lack of motivation to do the things that you would normally do.
Right. And so do you think, thank you, do you think, Erica said she ran out. You don't have no more drink. Do you think that, so are we talking about depression in general, or is this specific to postpartum?
Okay, so there's several types of depression. For one, you have major depressive disorder, mm-hmm. which is you're depressed 24/7, regardless if you had a baby or not. Even if things are going happy, like things are going good, you're still depressed. You can't find a reason to be happy.
Okay.
Then you have depressed mood, where you'll not like to do something sometimes, but for the most part, I mean, you can function.
Get your basics done.
Yeah, it's not full-on depression.
Right.
And then you have postpartum depression, which is exclusively from childbirth, and that's when your serotonin levels are not where they should be. They're all flip-flopping because you're up one day, down the next.
Right.
And it's dependent upon your hormone levels.
Right. Mm-hmm. That makes sense. Okay, so for you Bomb Moms out there, can you guys go ahead and leave us some comments and questions for Miss Lacy on this specific question? We're going to go ahead and move forward. I would like to put my little 2 cents in it. I think that maybe I had a little bout of a depressed mood because I don't feel overall depressed, like I'm just always like this. But I do have my moments, especially in this transition in my life right now, that I was telling you guys. I was trying to start a new journey to, venture off and get, open my own businesses, and I made some big moves to do that. But I had a couple of setbacks and obstacles that put me all the way back down to square one. And it was discouraging. It was discouraging, and then it affected me in all aspects of my life. So, like, my relationship, the timing of everything happened at one time. Love life, parenthood, working, transportation, financially, everything. It affected me all as a whole. So I felt like, me personally, I'm the type of person that I have a lot of motivation. I'm a go-getter. I can get out there. I know how to use my brain to make money. I'm very well spoken. I can adjust and adapt myself to do whatever it is I need to accomplish to make my money or to start a career, to get done what I need to get done. And I always have an encouraging, positive attitude about myself. And I hear that from a lot of my family and my friends. But lately, I haven't been able to pull that up out of me and find that I've been having these depressed moods where I feel like everything I'm trying is not working, and I keep getting pushed back. And it's affecting me, and I can tell, and I can feel it, and other people are starting to see it. And so, I'm trying to, talk myself up out of this mood, and at times I do, but the fact that it's reoccurring more often than I'd like it to is something that I need to work on myself. Okay,
so the difference between depressed mood and depression. So depressed mood, that's something that will last maybe a week. Depression, it lasts for 1 to 2 weeks.
Hi, Ashley.
At the most 3 weeks. And it's really hard for you to pull up out of there. So if it's just happening for a week, then that's a depressed mood. But if it's happening for a week plus, that's depression.
So what do you say for people who are depressed 1 week, and then the next week they're not, and then the next week they are, and then the next week they're not?
On and off.
So because I feel like
is
that's
that full-blown depression?
Okay, so when you're,
I feel like it's
it all depends on what you do to cope. Okay, so when you're depressed, what do you do to cope? Do you find yourself able to cope, or you just write it out?
I found myself writing a few times, and that did help.
Write it out.
And to write out.
Right.
But that is a coping mechanism or a coping strategy to write out.
I get what you're saying. I'm a writer.
No, I've done that.
I talk and deal. I'm sorry, I cut you off. I was going to say I'm a writer. I do talk and I deal with stuff better when I write it down or when I text it or type it or whatever. I'm better at doing that from my head by myself instead of speaking it.
And that's a great coping strategy. But like I was saying for Erica, when you're depressed 1 week and then you're not depressed and then it goes back into a depression, what are you doing, or what do you find yourself doing on the weeks that you're not depressed?
On the weeks that I'm not depressed, nothing. Because I feel like not motivated. I don't feel encouraged. I have a big anxiety issue that's real hard for me to get past, even if I'm not doing nothing, even if I'm not mad or nothing. I can literally sit on the couch all day, watch Hulu, binge watch anything. I might smoke, whatever, and that's pretty much all I do on my days where I'm happy. That's happy me. By myself, smoking, watching TV.
That sounds...
But that's not the old happy me. The old happy me is making sure I look pretty, finding something to do, go and hang out with some friends. That's
feeling
old happy me. Yeah. Getting myself something, doing something.
So what you're describing to me is a cyclic depression. So it goes in cycles to where you're depressed, but then you're not depressed. Then you go back to being depressed, then not depressed, and then going back to being depressed. So that's a cycle. And when we see depression in a cycle like that, that's major depressive disorder. And it's okay. We know that when we grow, our interests are not the same as what they used to be. And we might not get as dolled up as we used to because life has taken a toll. We have more kids, we have more responsibilities. So with that, it come with some depression, but to have a cycle like that, that's major depression.
Yeah, and it's also taken a big toll on my body, my physical, because I was 155 pounds. I had hips, I had thighs, I had everything. And now I look like a 12-year-old girl who just got out of elementary school. And so that has a lot to do with my depression. And so, yeah.
And that goes into your body image, which is self-esteem.
Yeah, and I know the things that I need to do to get back. I know it's fixable. But because of the predicament I'm in mentally, I'm not getting up to eat a full course breakfast, and I'm not going to fix myself a lunch, and I'm not going to eat in between that. I might skip breakfast and lunch and just eat a dinner and be okay for the night, and the next day probably do the same thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, which is something that I wanted to touch on as well with this first question we're talking about, but I wanted to take a minute to go ahead and get back with the audience and the viewers. Thank you, Antoine, for joining us. Hey, Ashley, thank you for joining us. We are here talking about mental health with Miss Lacy. She's a mental health consultant. She has her own firm. She's so bomb. She's also a bomb mom. So we have a couple of questions for her. So we're touching a little bit on postpartum and then depression in general, the different types of depression, how it can be a depressed mood or like a full on.
The things that it can cause without you even knowing, unconsciously, consciously.
Right. So you guys go ahead and send in all of your questions to us.
Have to do a part 2.
We may have to do a part 2, but go ahead and send in what you wanna, what you'd like to ask Miss Lacy pertaining to mental health. Right now, we're talking about depression and the different types. We started off with postpartum, so now we're moving on into how it affects our body and our self-esteem as mothers. This is a Bomb Mom show, so us mothers, we're human. On the outside, for a lot of people, it might look like everything looks good to you, or we look fine, or nothing is wrong. But for me, I always use myself for an example. Me personally, I'm not happy with how my body looks different after I've had my son. So not to I don't shame myself or anything like that, but I do have issues because it's different for me. It's a different thing. Like stretch marks and the way that, how our breasts may look after breastfeeding, or just things like that were not how they were before I had my child.
You want to know how we know it's a real problem?
What?
Because I don't look at your body like how you look at your body.
Same.
And you don't look at my body how I look at it. You're
Same.
like,
We're
look
always,
fine.
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Same.
And I'm like,
girl, you don't have no stretch marks. You can show your stomach. I won't even show my stomach
I'm
anymore.
like, so
okay?
I'll take stretch marks. Give me boobs.
That's self-efficacy. Okay. How you feel about yourself versus how others look at you.
Mm-hmm.
Could you explain that?
Okay, so self-efficacy, which is, like I was explaining to Erica and Lacy, is self-efficacy is how you view yourself versus how the world views you and your ability to get jobs done.
Right.
Okay, so for instance, you all were talking about your body image after having the baby. Okay, one sister says, I'll take the stretch marks for this and I'll take it for that.
Right.
Okay, when our self-efficacy is low, our self-esteem is low, and that's the breeding ground for that ugly depression.
Right.
Okay, so what's one thing we could do to correct low self-efficacy? One thing we could do is we can have control. They call it psychological control. And what psychological control is, knowing that you're the shit, and there's nothing that anybody can say or do to make you feel otherwise.
Right.
And
confidence.
Yes, and you know that you have control over the environment that you're in, over your thoughts, and it's up to you how the outcome will be.
Right.
So when that's low, that affects our self-esteem. So like I said, one way to raise the self-efficacy is to have a mantra. Something that when you wake up, that's the first thing you say when you look in the mirror. Okay. And 2, learning how to take compliments. How hard is it to take a compliment?
Oh my God. From random people, I'm like, okay,
yeah, it doesn't mean anything.
Because I don't care to be like, no, I don't. But from people that I know, my family and my friends and stuff, I'm like,
girl, I'll say something like, girl,
you're
no.
just saying that.
I'm like, girl, no, I do not like how they look. No. like I'll say, like I can't accept, be like, oh, thank you. I'll just be like, no, I don't like it. Still, I don't like it. I'll get a whole attitude.
Yeah.
Like, no, I don't like it. I'm not going no more. I don't like how it looks. Like,
you gotta learn how to take a compliment, and it starts at home from our loved ones, because we know our loved ones are going to be real with us, period.
Right.
They're not going to sugarcoat it. So if they tell us we look good, why not believe it?
Right. That makes sense.
Because we can take it from a stranger, but I mean, that stranger, we don't have to see them every day. But our loved ones who's telling us,
kind of
you look good, you know,
yeah.
you're fine. It's harder, I understand, but we got to learn how to take those compliments and turn it into our mantra.
Right.
So, for instance, if we're having an issue with our abdomen area, somebody says, girl, that abdomen's getting tight. You'd be like, my abdomen's getting tighter.
Okay.
I am beautiful. And, you know, whatever, just add that into your mantra. And that's one way you can raise your self-efficacy.
Yeah.
To raise your self-esteem.
Yeah, that's a good thing to do. At one point, I said that I was going to start using these positive phrases and things that I say to myself in the mirror. Or even with my son too, like just teaching him. I lost my train of thought with the word, but teaching him those positive things to say about himself, like, you know, I'm a smart boy, I'm a handsome boy, or, you know,
you're raising his self-efficacy.
Yeah, and I know to do that, but I have to admit that I'm guilty of not being consistent with that with myself. And I probably try it and not even do it again because I don't feel like what I'm saying is genuine. I feel like, yeah, I can say that, but I don't feel like that.
And one way to turn that around, because I know exactly how you feel. You know, saying, like, somebody can tell me this till I'm blue in the face, or I can say it, but I don't believe it. But what can you do to make yourself believe it? And some days you might have to, like, if you're telling yourself I'm beautiful, but you don't feel it, doll yourself up. And then look at yourself and be like, good. I am beautiful, and I don't need makeup.
That makes sense.
Yes, I have it on. This enhances my natural beauty. So we need those positive words. You know, we have to be gentle with ourselves because we teach our children to be gentle with themselves. But how can we teach our children if mommy is not gentle?
We're not practicing what we preach.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's the little things. It's the little things.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Hey, Candy Rain, Miss Lady. Thank you for joining us. And who's that? Nita. Thank you for joining us. You guys go ahead and start your watch parties. We're here with Miss Lacy talking about mental health. We've been talking about postpartum, different types of depression other than that. We've talked about self-efficacy. Yeah. We've talked about self-esteem. We were just getting done with that. And feeding off of that main topic we were just talking about on the depression, I wanted to ask a follow-up question on what type of duties or roles do you think that a spouse should be responsible for when their spouse is going through a bout of depression? Okay, for one, we've got to have that open line of communication. You've got to know within yourself when you're not feeling well. And so you have to be able to communicate that to your spouse, saying, look, I'm not feeling well mentally, I need you to take over. And so once you've communicated that, and when your spouse understands, okay, when she tells me I'm not feeling good, I know I need to do this, and that. Because the last thing, you need is your spouse not doing something the way you would like it to be done, or something that you feel that they know they should be doing. So it's have a plan. So for the days that you are not feeling well, let's come up with a word, say just sick. Okay, and then your spouse should know, okay, I gotta get the kids ready. I know I gotta cook. I know I gotta clean. I know I gotta do this. It's just having a list. And also have a spouse who's willing to be that for you while you need them. Exactly. Yeah, because I think, like you were saying, I was going to ask, what if you have a spouse who downplays the whole depression, mental and anxiety, health in general? A lot of people. Yeah, or try to convince you just because you haven't been to a doctor, for them to diagnose you as depressed or having anxiety, that it's not real. It doesn't. Right. You can't be going through that because... Yeah. Okay, so you do this. So if they don't believe that, you're depressed. Okay, so when your toe has been cut or is dangling off and it's about to come off, do you need to go to the doctor to tell you that you need to get your toe fixed? Right. Okay, I know that my mind
is not in a healthy space. I don't need a doctor to tell me
that.
that I'm depressed. No,
Right.
I know that I'm not feeling
it.
Exactly.
That's why I'm going to the doctor.
Exactly. Saying, I mean, you just flip it on them. So, okay, so when you have a cold, you don't try to get medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you don't have to go to the doctor to tell you that you have a cold.
Yeah, that's true.
So just like you don't have to go to the doctor to tell you have a cold, a flu, or that you've severed your toe, I don't have to go to the doctor to get, to get that diagnosis.
Right, and it's almost like, can't you see my changes?
I'm not myself.
The changes in me that, like, I'm down, like I'm not what I used to be, I'm not doing what I used to, I'm not looking like I used to. Can't you tell as my spouse?
And also, what if they flip it back on you and try to use it as like a thing, like, okay, that's what you're going through, so why aren't you, or why are you using it as a crutch, or they make you feel like you're using it as a crutch?
And
like, you're claiming anxiety, and why would you even claim something like that? Why, how do you go about that?
And those people are stuck in that negative mental health stigma, thinking that it's something that you can fix, but you have to be willing to fix it. No, depression, anxiety, whatever it is that you're going through mentally, you can't just snap out of.
Right.
It takes time, for someone to talk to. Sometimes medication, sometimes meditation, or however you cope. But if they're trying to say don't use that as a crutch, say no. Okay, so flip it again. I mean, you always gotta flip it. And if they don't understand with you flipping it, that's when you take them to the World Health Organization.com, the WHO.Unthinkable.org, and you can show them the different statistics about mental health and show them how many people go undiagnosed. But the fact that you see the difference and you see the changes in your mental health should be enough.
Right.
And you just have to tell your spouse, the mental health stigma is real. And you can tell them people die of depression every day. How do you die of depression? It's called suicide.
Okay. And it's serious. It is that serious. People don't take it serious enough. Like, I see, especially this generation with social media, like, I see it all the time, and I'm like, wow, there were probably signs that they were depressed. I know some people hide it, but if you have a loved one that pays attention to you and that is observing and caring about your well-being,
especially a spouse,
especially a spouse, there were signs, little signs, big signs there that could have gave away that they were depressed, and maybe they could have been saved. Right.
It's that ugly stigma that holds us back every time, and we can't progress as a people, let alone a couple, if you have your spouse stuck in that negative, nasty stigma, thinking that you're using as a crutch, or if you claim it, that's what it is. No, it's what it is, period. I don't have to claim it.
And I do think, to come up out of that, my personal opinion, I do think it does take a little self-effort, but that's not all it takes. You need a support system, or coping, like you said, healthy ways of coping. All of that plays into it. And when you don't have that support, it's like adding on to the depression. You know what I'm saying? Especially when you're getting all this backlash from your spouse who is not believing you, or not trying to understand you, or even if they don't understand, just being there for you. You know what I'm saying? Supporting you. It adds on to it. So I think that is definitely a bad negative stigma around mental health, and that we need to have these open conversations like this.
Yeah, talking with your spouse, because your spouse isn't always happy-go-lucky. They might have an anger problem. That's a mental health issue. Or just thinking that people are lying. That's a mental health issue. Thinking that people are always lying about how they feel. Like, no, what's the issue with you? Because there's a thing called transference, where somebody will transfer their feelings onto you to make you think that you're crazy, or you're this. And first, let me make this clear: there's no such thing as crazy. There's nothing in the DSM-5 that labels anybody as crazy. So we got to cut that stigma, and the only way we can cut it is by having that much needed conversation.
I agree. So, trying to wrap this one question up here, because we're going to try to take a couple of questions from our viewers, if we have any come in. Welcome, Idris. Thank you for joining us. You guys go ahead and start a watch party, so we can go ahead and get this show on the road. Umoja, thank you for joining. Mama Bonfire, thank you for joining us. You guys go ahead and start your watch parties. We've been here for the last 15 minutes talking to Lacy. She's a mental health consultant. She has her own firm. She's been talking to us a little bit about postpartum depression, the different types, depressed moods versus a depressed disorder. Also, we've been talking about self-esteem and self-efficacy, how our spouses play into all of that, and how it's a real thing, and how just mental health in general has such a negative stigma on it. But about to wrap that topic up for that question, because we do have some more questions for her. Last question pertaining to that: what is your opinion on how to self-help when you don't have support? Say if you're a single mom and you just had a baby, then it might not even be postpartum depression, but just in general, you don't have anybody on the family. You're out here struggling by yourself with 2 kids, and you're going through a depressed mood because it's hard. You're going through life alone.
Yeah.
What do you think is?
Thank heavens for the internet and social media, because there are a lot of different, groups out there that are for support. For instance, Mom Mob. Do y'all know about Mom Mob?
No. Who are they?
The Mom Mob. They are this. It's a
so
group.
cute.
I know Mom Mob.
Yeah, it's a group of women who is strictly moms of all walks of life, and they come together. And if somebody has a question, moms come together and they give that woman support.
Like a forum or a...
Yes. It's a group, a Facebook group.
Okay, yeah.
Or other self-help. There are books. And my best book to read would have to be Heal Thyself by Queen Afua. Yes.
Sounds interesting.
Yes, and in Queen Afua's book, she talks about how you can heal your mind and how you can heal your body. And just because you're down today doesn't mean you'll be down forever. Very motivational. So shout out to Queen Afua.
Can you go ahead and tell our viewers the title of that book again?
Somebody has a question.
Let her go ahead and tell the viewers the title of that book. She said that it's very interesting and motivational. What is it called?
Yes. Heal Thyself. I'll put it in the comment.
Okay, so the book is called Heal Thyself.
By Queen Afua.
By Queen Afua. And she was saying how it's very motivational with self-help. And then you have the social media. You have the internet. Take advantage of all of this technology we have nowadays to help out with those type of things, because like you said, you never know what somebody's going through.
Most definitely.
Candy Rain has a question.
So we're going to go ahead and start on our viewer questions. Let me see. I can see.
Candy Rain said, what is the best way to overcome depression? I still have my moments of depression.
But we just touched on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, in order to help with your depression, we have to look at self-efficacy. And self-efficacy is how you view yourself versus how you perceive that the world sees you, and your ability to get jobs done. So, for instance, if you're a mom, your ability to mother effectively. And one way to raise self-efficacy is to have a mantra that basically reminds you of how bomb you are. Basically, you're the shit and can't nobody tell you different. It's building yourself up, because if you can't build yourself up, how can we expect others to build us up? Right? So it starts with the inside. So we got to work on that self-efficacy. Regardless if your money is tight or your housing situation might be different. I mean, you got to say, I know what's best for my family, and I am enough, and I got this. That's what will help build up our self-efficacy, which will in turn help our self-esteem, which will virtually diminish depression once our self-esteem is raised.
Right. So gaining that confidence and all that good stuff.
Yes.
So that was for Candy Rain. Lacy was she was responding to the question you asked about different ways to overcome depression, which we were touching on earlier. So I hope you got your answer for that. Thank you for that question, Candy Rain. Welcome to everybody else who has just joined us. Go ahead and start your watch parties. We're talking to Lacy about mental health. She has her own firm, and we got to get rid of this negative stigma, you guys.
Yes.
It's a good thing.
Crush the stigma.
Positive. Let's just move on. Okay. So the next question we have for you is gonna be a little bit about relationships. So we talked about our mom stuff. hopefully that helped a couple of you bomb moms out there. Any of you guys who are going through postpartum, we know what it's like. We're all moms, you know, feeling that depressed mood or that having a depressed disorder, or just trying to find ways to come up out of there to deal with your spouse, body, self-esteem, and everything. So I hope that we help somebody out there. At the end of this show, I'm going to ask Miss Lacy to give her information for her firm and how to contact her or get in touch with her, so you guys can follow up with any further questions, or if you want to see her, you take clients, right?
I do.
Yeah,
I do. You can visit my website, but I'll leave all that in the end.
Yeah, we'll get to that at the end. So we'll make sure you guys have a way to contact her. So we're gonna move on to see if we have any more questions. Was that the only question from our viewers? We're gonna see if we have any more questions right now. No questions at this time, but you guys go ahead and start your watch party so we can get our video out there. We can get you guys more topics. Send in your topics, your questions. We can get more guests on here. This has been very informational for us, so we're excited to have Miss Lacy here.
I'm glad.
So we were having a whole conversation with her beforehand, so we have a couple more questions for her that I'm going to go ahead and get into until you guys go ahead. Please send your questions in. Send us some questions, some comments. Interact with us. We want to go ahead.
Thoughts, ideas,
everything. We want to go ahead and have you guys take advantage of Miss Lacy today, okay? So our next question.
Somebody has a question.
Oh, we have one? Okay, Candy Rain. So she was responding to your response. She said, I think an issue for women is that we have this idea that we're supposed to be so strong, work, take care of the house, take care of the kids, take emotional abuse, and act like nothing is wrong. I do agree with that. I think that I'm that person because I've always been somebody in my family that, you know, I want to be dependable for all of my family members and do whatever I can before I even make myself happy or do what I need to do for myself. I've always been that person, and it's just naturally me. So I feel like that's why the depressed moods that I feel like I might go through at sometimes, I feel like that had a part to do with it too, because I'm so used to being independent and helping everyone else out, whether it be just to talk, give advice, financially, whatever I can do, I'm always gonna do it. And then now that I don't have that capability now,
it's like,
and I feel like I'm not myself. I feel like I'm not the best I can be, and I think that I do have that stigma that she said, like just expecting like I have to be strong, even relationship wise, which is another question we're about to get into. Relationship wise, I just feel like I always had, because of my past experiences that I've already gone through, I feel like I've built up so much resistance, or I'm immune to some of the most hurtful things because I've been through it. And now I feel like I have to be strong no matter what, because I'm not going back down here where I can allow myself to be hurt again. That, and then the same thing with the mom stuff. Like, I feel like even though, like, I know my son's father, financially he takes care of our son, even spent quality time with him. He's a great father. He does everything he's supposed to do. But I still feel like, because the transition I'm at in my life, trying to open my own businesses, it's hard. It's hard not having the money you used to have, or trying to build something up from nothing. And so he's taking care of everything that we need for our son right now. And so for me, it's hard for me to accept that and allow that to happen. Not that I stop it, but I'm just so used to equally being able to do that, or just taking my own initiative to do that now that I can't, it makes me feel less than myself.
And when you were saying that, you were screaming self-efficacy. You feel that you're not able to do the job that you were once doing before, when honestly you're doing it perfectly fine, if not even better now, being that you don't have those resources. So you're able to go head in, like head first.
Put my whole self
into
it.
So though you're not contributing monetarily, you're contributing by being there and by being present.
Yeah, I didn't.
It's really hard for her to think about that because I have been home with CJ pretty much all his life. I only worked for like 9 months when he turned 3, and when he turned 2, I worked for 9 months, and then I stopped working again. But even before that, I wasn't working at all, from newborn all the way up until 2. So I understand that she's a great mom, regardless of if she's working. She don't got a penny in her pocket. This little boy loves her to death, and
I just don't feel it. And
she just.
And the irony of it is that this was why I quit the good job that I was at to try to free more time so I can have this time with my son. But I feel like because it didn't happen the way that I was trying to do it, or maybe I'm impatient, that I feel like I'm doing less in myself, because this was the goal. Like, I want to be, my son was at, Mommy, can you work from home? I'm like, baby, Mommy got to go to work. I used to feel so bad. And so it motivated me to try to get my own businesses going. But when I ran into those obstacles and had those setbacks, it was like, I don't even feel like I didn't stop to think that, yes, I am present here. But it makes me feel better that you guys made me. I just now realized, like, oh, well, I am here. That's what I want to do. That's the ultimate goal, to have more time with my family and my son and be present for everything that I need to be, but still have everything else taken care of.
And that's hard, because when we're not doing what we think we should be doing, but the thing that we were actually wanting to do is, when it's happening, we don't know how to recognize it.
Right.
And your whole reason for quitting your job and focusing on your businesses and focusing on your son and home, it's like, because things aren't happening the way you wanted them to happen, you fail to realize that I'm actually living the life that I wanted to live, which is being home with my son.
Yeah.
Being the face he sees when he wakes up.
Yeah.
The face that he sees before he goes down for a nap, when he wakes up from his nap. You're there.
Yeah.
But it's our self-efficacy that's low that we've got to raise up.
Right.
Somebody, Mama Bonfire said, thank you for doing this.
You're welcome, and hello
Pleasure.
to James. James just joined us. Thank you for watching and tuning in. You guys go ahead and start your watch party so we can get this. Yeah, send in your questions, your comments, your thoughts. Please go ahead and pick Miss Lacy's brain, because we love having her here. We're so excited. She's just the little conversation that we've had. She's been making a lot of sense. A lot of buttons are clicking in my head, like, wow.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. So we were just going over mental health for those of you who have just joined us, talking about the different types of depression. And so now we're going to go, and how it affected us as moms, basically, and how our spouses played into that.
And one more thing before I forget. It's so crazy, because when I went back to work when he was 2, I felt so guilty at work. Like, I was always thinking about him. I felt bad. I would so much rather be at home with my baby.
Same. That's how it was when I had to go back when he was I had only been out, he was 2 months old. I had to go back. I cried. Like, I was so tired. I knew that I needed a little break. But when I left my baby, when I tell you, I cried. I did not want to leave him. And every day I went to work, and he used to tell me things like, I wish you could work from home. I felt so bad. But now that I'm here, I didn't even stop to realize that, yes, I'm present. This is step 1 of what I wanted. But it just feels like, because it didn't happen the way I wanted in the time and all that.
And that's expectations. Expectations also play into depression and anxiety. When our expectations are so high, and that's the term overreaching. Sometimes we overreach.
I think I do that a lot.
And when we overreach, we're setting ourselves up where it's not. We can see it as, these are my goals, and my goals got to be realistic, and these are realistic. But sometimes our realistic goals
are realistic.
Overreaching, like
not at this
like
point, right?
Yeah.
You gotta give yourself
and
time.
you gotta start at square one.
Yeah.
So your square one is to be at home with your son.
Yeah.
Bam. Now let's master that. And then after we've mastered that, then we can put our time and effort into starting our business.
Yeah.
And then we can watch that business flourish. And once we've mastered that, we go on to the next thing.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense. That does make a lot of sense. But that was very interesting, informational.
Tavia has a question. She says, in a relationship, what do you do when you're trying to make it work, but your spouse continues to do things that hurt you, but they keep apologizing about it, but turns around and does it again? It doesn't have to be cheating. It could be little things, like them not having understanding of your feelings, how they talk to you, cheating as well. How do you break the cycle?
So before we get into that, I wanted to go ahead and put out the second question, because that is has a little bit to do with it.
Hi, everybody that just joined.
Thank you for just joining us. You guys start your watch parties. Tavia, we did just read your question out. I'm going to go ahead and say what our second question is, because that does have a lot to do with it. Our second question for Lacy was, how does pride and narcissism relate to one another, and how does that affect a relationship? So I feel like
Tavia, listen to this.
Tavia, this is for you, and this is for us as well. This was the question we had, so go ahead and tune in to Miss Lacy.
Yes. Okay. So, pride and narcissism. So, we know people who are very prideful, they don't know how to ask for help because that's not even in their vocabulary. Help, what is that?
Right. Right. I'm going to do this by myself.
Okay. And a
I
lot of
understand.
narcissists,
I'm like that.
they are prideful, but then sometimes a narcissist will not be prideful. And what they do is they have disregard for your feelings. So whatever they do,
lack of empathy.
Yes, lack of empathy. They can apologize all they want, but turn around and do it. That's what narcissists do.
Mm-hmm.
Period. And once they get you in, like they can come in as somebody who's helpless, but then turn around and abuse you. And it could be non-physical abuse. It could be emotional abuse, mental abuse, saying, I'm going to change, but you keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Manipulation is huge with narcissists because, I mean, that's what they work off of.
Right.
What can I get out of you?
Right.
What can you do to enhance my agenda?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, and once you're no longer useful, I throw you away.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you deal with somebody who consistently apologizes for simple things? Like you could say, hey, it hurt my feelings when you told me to shut up. And they say, well, you were being loud,
stupid or something like
or
that.
you was doing this, that, and the third, and that's why I felt like I should have told you to shut up.
Like they find things that are wrong, they have a reason to justify it in
they
their
have
mind.
every time. It's all, even if it's I don't get it, so I'm not gonna say I'm sorry because I don't get it. That don't make sense to me, even though you're blatantly telling them you hurt my feelings by doing this. That don't make sense to me.
Why?
So it's like this wall that's up that they've refused to put down. So how do you deal with those kind of people?
Well, for one, we gotta know that narcissists, they're always right. They're never wrong.
Right.
So even if they are wrong, you're wrong. And who needs to apologize? You need to apologize.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's for one. We can never, with narcissists, we can't go in expecting them to change. Because there's no medication you can take for narcissism.
Mm-hmm. It's learned behavior.
It's
for
a mentality.
one, you have to admit it, and then you have to get help, therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the first step. You have to get them to admit,
Mm-hmm.
and until they admit that they have those toxic traits, we can't see any change. So you can talk to them till you're blue in the face, talking about how they've done this, how they've done that, and how they need to change, but in how they see it, they're never wrong, and you're the issue.
Right.
So sometimes it can be like you're talking to a brick wall because essentially that's what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with a lot of narcissists, you have to show them with action to get them to understand, like,
or at least a fake understanding.
And I hate to sound like it's a tit for tat thing, but I feel like people who are narcissists or have those traits. Say for instance, like my boyfriend. I mean, not specifically, but say for instance, I'm telling you, my boyfriend is a narcissist, and for him to say like, he can't even admit the fact that he's a narcissist. So for me to just talk to him and tell him how I feel, and I know that he might apologize just because he's tired of arguing, but he really don't mean it, or understand the reason behind it. Like, really, like, genuinely, I don't get that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's not just some facade. It's like, I really don't get that, and I don't agree, and I don't care. I think with them, we have to show them, what's been helpful for me is showing them with action, like, not do something hurtful back, but to be like, I have to make them see themselves in my shoes. So I'll have to like go through the whole thing, like explain it full out. Like, okay, let me give you an example. If this was you and this specific person, a real person, did this to you, and I was there and I responded this way, how would you feel? Oh, no, that's different. No. Tell me exactly how you would respond.
They wouldn't know how to because they can't put their self in your shoes.
And that's when they get, and for me, like I said, like, it is a hard thing to break that with them. Mm-hmm. But for me, like, I've had a little success with, like, something simple like an argument. When I have to place them in my shoes and spell it all out for them. And then they'll be like, I would have been mad. I'm not gonna lie. I would have been pissed off, or I would have went off, or whatever. And then I'm like, exactly. So you see how I feel. There's no double standard. There's no difference. You have feelings just like I have feelings. You reacted and didn't like this. I don't like that either. So don't do it to me. So I've had a little success, like trying to let them imagine themselves in my shoes, but they're some of the hardest people to break open. You know what I mean? To get through to. So I don't know how. I don't have any answers either, but I just wanted to say.
So are narcissists like this at the beginning of the relationship, or do they fake it until a certain point?
They fake it until they make it. So, for instance, you're dating a narcissist. They might come off as very humble and meek, and I'll do anything you want me to do.
Charming.
I'll take care of you. Yes. And once they get you,
I'll keep looking at the camera.
and once they
but
get
we're
you,
just having a conversation.
Yeah, but you guys keep up because it looks like y'all just
And
going
so we
on.
just
and once they get you, it's like, I got you now, so I can show my true colors.
Right.
And when they show you their true colors, believe them.
Okay, that's what they say.
Believe them. Don't just because they apologize, that doesn't mean that they're gonna change. No, a narcissist, they're never wrong.
Do you think that they can change, or at least lessen those narcissists?
Yes, see, with narcissism, you can't get rid of it completely.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
But you can get help, and that's why there's therapy. And if you can't afford therapy, if you have a loved one who is not a narcissist, but who is willing to help you see the error in your ways, take that. But first, they have to be willing to.
Right.
And, I mean, some of the most toxic relationships are those relationships with narcissists. And either you can try to stick it out and try to get through to them, or you'll have to just call it quits and walk away.
Ways, yeah.
Is it possible for a narcissist that you're in a relationship with to rub off their narcissistic behavior on you?
Yes, because narcissism.
And when those people get if I was being rubbed off on, or if I felt like their narcissistic traits were being passed over to me, am I conscious of that, or am I unconscious of that?
Well, when we do self-inventories, for instance, you have to go to a therapist to get the MMPI, but just do a self-inventory. This is how I was before, and this is my thinking now.
Okay.
So if you feel that you have, inherited some narcissistic traits, you can write down the traits of your loved one who's a narcissist and the traits that you see in yourself. And if you're able to draw lines to where they connect, then you'll see where you need to make that change in the behavior.
So physically
So
writing it down.
you can help yourself, and you can also help your loved one, but they have to be willing to be helped.
Right. Right. That makes a lot of sense.
And when we try to help narcissists, it's always looking at we're pointing the finger, and a narcissist hates that because they're never wrong.
Right.
I feel like a lot of times narcissists feel challenged when you ask them certain questions, and they're immediately defensive, like, how dare you ask me something like that?
Right.
Even though I just showed you that.
You're putting words in their mouth and thoughts in their brain when you're really not. And that's one thing to know. Like, everything is going to be your fault, and you're making things up. No, you're a liar. I mean, I have proof. I have receipts. You know what I'm saying? And with the narcissist, even if you have receipts, that's fabricated.
Right.
And is it common for narcissists to say, I didn't say excuse me, I didn't say that, even though you remember in your mind?
Oh, yes.
Clear as day, like, I remember exactly how this conversation went.
They want to manipulate you to.
So is it that they really don't remember, or they're just being a manipulator?
They're manipulating, and the thing with narcissism, when it's really bad, they do it unconsciously.
Right.
And that's when you have to just be like, you know what?
I can't.
There's really no getting through to them, so just let me fall back.
Right. Yeah.
Because you're just bringing more stress onto you.
Or I guess when they feel like, I
don't know about y'all, but that was heavy.
When their backs are against the wall, they probably
their back is up against the
use
wall,
that
and then how dare you push my back up against the wall and make me feel so challenged?
Right.
Who are you? At that point, the conversation goes from middle
to 100.
100
to 100. Period.
100.
That's true. That's true. I've been there several times. So we have Miss Erica Neal. She has a comment for us. Thank you for joining us, by the way. She says, I was engaged to a narcissist man, and most definitely, he kept that a secret until we moved in together. Like she said, they're gonna charm you, and do everything they gotta do to start that relationship off, to pull you in, reel you in. When they got you, they're gonna show their true colors.
Yeah, and believe it.
Believe it. That's what they say. When somebody shows you their true colors, believe them. But I haven't said that. I have to say the other side of it. Not to say that narcissists can't change, but they have to want to change. They have to have will to put that effort in to make the change, and they have to admit and recognize when they are wrong or where they're wrong at.
How do you know if there's two narcissists in a relationship together?
It's toxic.
What does that argument look like?
Okay. Let me see.
Bumping heads.
They're both not agreeing. They're not agreeing.
Not necessarily, because you can have one narcissist who will play the victim role.
Right.
And as soon as you're good and forgot about it, you're the other narcissist, then that's when they come and attack. And you said this and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And you know what? And then that's when they'll start to use, well, I'll just leave, or you don't love me anyway. And when it's two narcissistic people, I mean, that's a cyclone of disaster. And you won't really know unless you yourself know you're a narcissist and you know the narcissistic traits. And you see that in your loved one. It's what do you stay? There can't be two of us.
So I'm assuming that it's possible to have narcissistic traits and then being a full-blown narcissist.
Everybody has toxic traits. It just might be narcissistic traits. Some people might have traits of a sociopath. A sociopath and narcissist are very close. They lack empathy. They will use and abuse you. They will make you feel less than. So, I mean, everybody has toxic traits. It's identifying those traits and wanting to change.
Right. Well, that was very informational. Thank you. As you can tell, we're trying to apply it to our lives. So we're trying to see.
Not trying to give out too much tea.
No, we're trying to see how it fits. You know, it's very helpful to us as well as other bomb moms out there that are tuning in.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. Thank you, Gail, for joining us. Thank you all for tuning in. We're talking to Lacy about mental health, depression, narcissism, pride, relationships, postpartum, all of the above. For all of you bomb moms, we're trying to get everything we can squeeze out of her while she's here. So we just finished talking about the narcissism and pride and how it affects a relationship, and how there can be narcissistic traits, not necessarily meaning that somebody is a narcissist and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and move on. I don't see any more comments or questions from the viewers. Our next question that we have for you is, what do you think the most effective ways are to discipline your children?
Okay, so I can easily come up with my biased response because I do participate in attachment parenting.
Okay.
However, for, the listeners out here today, we can focus on positive punishment, negative punishment, positive reinforcement, and negative reinforcement. So let's break it down. Let's start with positive punishment. Positive, something that you give. So punishment, okay. You can give a spanking, or you can give chores, or you can give a task that they have to do. So if they're being disobedient, write down, I will not be disobedient. I will not be disobedient. So that's giving. That's positive punishment. Okay. And then we have negative punishment. Negative punishment is taking something away. So for instance, you act up in school, I'm going to take away your iPod. Okay. And then we can go into positive reinforcements. Positive reinforcements of when they've done something well. Okay, so you're good. I will give you some time on your iPod, or I'll let you go outside.
Right.
And then you have negative reinforcement when you take something away that's also good. So, say for instance, they know when they're bad, they have to write down, I will not be bad. So with negative reinforcement is, because you're being so good, I'm going to take that chore away. You don't have to do that. And children thrive off of praise. When you praise them for the things that they're doing right, the things they're doing wrong, they'll be more willing to correct it.
Right.
So praising your child for the things that they do right. And even if, you know, if you feel that your kid is just a screw up and they never do anything right, praise that one thing they do right.
Right.
You woke up today and brushed your teeth? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. we do that
Oh my
a lot with, especially our
Thank
kids
you.
because they're little, you know, they're 3 and 4. We do that a lot with our
hilarious.
kids. Like, they do the littlest tasks, and when we praise them and we compliment them and we're like, good job and stuff like that, they get the biggest little smiles on their face. It makes them so happy and so proud.
And they'll be
ate all
more
your food.
willing
Yeah,
to
yeah.
do that without
That
you
is true.
telling them.
That is true. I do agree on that. We were asking Lacy specifically about this topic because we do pop our children. We've had a show about this before, about how different ways to discipline your children, and our opinions, or not even an opinion, but what we practice right now is that, you know, our kids are small, so we pop them when they don't listen. Maybe a pop on the hand,
That's fine.
and, you know, a little pop on the hand, and it's a difference
Pop on
between
butt, thigh.
or the butt. Yeah, and it's a difference between like a pop and a full blown whooping.
Yeah,
And
they
then-
haven't gotten that.
Right, and then it goes into also what did they do so bad, or how bad is whatever they did? Like, do they deserve timeout? Do they deserve a pop, or should we just have a talking to them? You know what I'm saying? So we practice all of that, but we've been. Let me ask you, how do you stay consistent
Right.
with something like attachment parenting?
Okay, so one thing with attachment parenting is speaking calmly. Okay, so, that's just a part of it. So, for instance, if my son is acting up, because I homeschool, okay? If he's not paying attention while we're doing the lesson, I say, Zachariah, I need you to pay attention. Children, they respond to calm better than they do with yelling. So, I'm consistent with me being calm, whether he's doing something good or something bad. I'm always calm. It's a flat affect. I'm showing, okay, I'm not fazed by this.
Right.
So, with consistency, you have to do it over and over again. So,
This way.
if they're being bad,
It's hard for us to do that, and
if they're being bad,
Well, if she talks to the camera, it helps. So I'll
Okay.
if they're being bad, you talk calmly, and you talk calmly through the good and through the bad. Mommy, I got an A in school today. Wow, you got an A. Great job. Or you're acting up. Now we know that's not how we act.
Right.
That's how you do it. And it's a practice. It's something that I just didn't do overnight. I mean, this is 9 years of practice.
Okay.
My oldest is 9. So, I mean, consistency is something you have to work at every day.
Right. With everything. I think, I just wanted to make a little side comment on that. Consistency is very important in different aspects of life, especially just thinking about me trying to start a business. And you have to have that self-discipline to keep that goal in sight and make progress on your goals, and to be consistent. That's like one of the most important parts of the foundation, to stay consistent, because you can start something and fall off and then have to start back at square one.
When somebody's not breathing down your neck like a boss, that can fire you, it's really hard to, discipline yourself to do things and act like your life is a job. You being a mom is a job.
It's
So-
one of the most difficult jobs.
I feel like if you trick yourself
Same with
into
kids and
thinking
discipline.
that like my life is a job and I could get fired, I feel like things will get better.
That'll change your whole.
Look at your kid as your boss. Because, I mean, kids remember stuff from as early as age 3.
Okay.
So if you don't want them to, at age 10, fire you, how do I need to treat them now?
Right.
So if I want to raise a calm child, I have to consistently be calm.
Right. That makes
And
sense.
it's easier said
Lead by
than
example.
exactly. But I mean, you got to start off where it's realistic for you. If you know you're really not a calm person, you got to work on you first.
It's something I need to do because my patience run really short. Being that this is new, especially being for
I'm about to say
me.
you're very calm.
I
In my
can.
opinion,
Okay,
you're
so
a lot more calm than I am.
I can be calm, but I think for me, my patience is wearing thin because this new role of being home all the time with my son is kind of like, I'm not used to that. Not that I can't handle him, but when I've told him something several times and he's just not listening, just plain out not listening.
In the calmest tone.
You know, I'll talk to him, but then after a while, like, I get frustrated, and it's hard for me to just keep going back to do that consistency, doing the same thing, because after I talk to you and you still not listening, I talk to you a second time, now I'm gonna pop you, and I'll yell sometime, and I don't want to be like yelling at my child and come here, whooping, you know, I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to do that, and especially because they're little, and I know that you said they understand, which I do agree, they understand. But sometimes they just do the same thing again after you just told them not to. Because they're kids.
They'll test you.
Yeah, because they're kids.
Because
so
they don't get popped every day. There's a lot of days where they will go unpopped.
Right, because we don't want to keep every 5 minutes.
Y'all have to question.
Yeah, no, we know we're going to read it. We don't want to keep going every 5 minutes, you know, having to pop them or yell at them. Like,
because they do things consistently. So, like, we will literally be whooping them every 2 seconds.
If that
so
was the case, yeah. So we need to work on our consistency and self-discipline on not getting so frustrated easily or finding ways to maybe calm ourselves down before we discipline.
And it's okay to walk away. If your child is just not cooperating with you, leave that child where they are. And you walk away, you breathe, and then come back, and then you say, you know what? We're going to have a quiet time. Since you don't want to listen, I'm not going to listen to you. You're not going to listen to me.
Yes.
We're quiet.
I like that idea because we never walk away. Like we feel like we have to handle it right there, right now. Because if we don't handle it right there, right now, they're going to do it again.
A lot of damage can be done because your emotions are high. You're not listening to me, and you need to listen because I'm the parent. You're the child. It's okay to walk away. They'll understand because that child will see, okay, I didn't do something right. What did I do wrong?
Well, I mean, especially them, because I know, like, I haven't done that in the midst of discipline, but if there was something, like, if he did not say excuse me when I'm in a conversation with an adult, and I won't listen to him, and he's like, Mommy, I'm like,
ignore.
Yes, that's what, and I've done that, and that is effective, but I haven't applied that to discipline, and it makes a lot of sense that we need to work on that.
Yeah.
It takes time.
That's definitely good.
Okay, we got 2. Oh,
I think you should say, yeah.
Yaya said, what is the greatest thing in your opinion that black men can do to erect a positive and confident infrastructure for the enhancement of the black families? I'm only asking because I'm getting a young female perspective on the answer. So she said, what is the greatest thing in your opinion that a black man can do to erect a positive and confident infrastructure for the enhancement of the
Black
family?
Oh, family. I thought it said females. Black families, yeah.
Be vulnerable. The black man has been taught to not be vulnerable. If you're vulnerable, that means I'm weak, and that means that I cannot provide, I can't protect.
You're a new boy?
No, but guess what? You're human. If I touch you in your arm, are you not going to bleed?
Right.
If I punch you in your eye, are you not going to turn purple?
Right. Exactly.
If I hurt you, you're going to cry. It's okay to cry. The black man has to learn how to be vulnerable, and the black man has to learn how to say, I'm not okay.
I agree.
And just like the black woman, we're always taught to be strong and to like not let anything
was saying,
affect you. No, you're a human.
You're human. It's okay to cry. It's okay to let your emotions out.
Exactly. Humans cry.
Yeah.
Humans bleed. Humans get angry. Humans get happy. But what the black man can do is be vulnerable. And when he's vulnerable, the children see that, okay, you know, it's okay to cry every now and then. You know, you don't be crying all the time.
Right.
You ain't ready to let me in.
Right, okay. But it's okay, though.
It's okay.
Right.
If you're hurt immensely, it's okay to cry. Because when you hold that in, that's breeding grounds for depression, schizophrenia. Yeah, for not being able to express how you feel. That's more than one personality dueling.
And you know, I think that being vulnerable, I think that being vulnerable opens up a line of communication, because a lot of the times I feel like when men have that wall up because they're a man, they're macho, they can't cry, I'm not about to show you I'm soft, I'm not about to get all deep into this, I'm not about to show you I'm weak, that they'll block the whole thing totally. They won't have the conversation, they won't admit it, they won't let you see it. And so that communication is cut off. I don't know how you really feel. I don't know that you're sad. I don't know that you was angry because you're just, I didn't know that you was feeling weak and less than yourself. I didn't know your mental health wasn't good. because you think that you have to hide those things. Like, if you hide that from the world, but I'm your spouse.
Yeah.
I'm your spouse. You should be open and feel free to be yourself and show your feelings in front of me, and know that I'm gonna accept you anyway, and we can help each other. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good one.
I feel like it's
Like,
taught.
I'm being vulnerable, for sure.
It's taught at a young age for boys to not be vulnerable. You know, telling a boy, "You're crying like a little girl," or whatever, referring to them as anything like feminine because they're doing what a girl would do.
Which is actually a normal emotion of any human. Right.
One thing that has helped me in my parenting journey, and especially raising a black boy, is getting him to understand his feelings. He'll come up to me and be like, "I'm angry." "Why are you angry?" If he can't explain to me why he's angry, you have no right saying
To say
that.
you're angry, yeah.
You know why you know the way you feel better than I do, and only you can express that. And I've been teaching him that since he was 3, since he was able to really verbalize. Why are you angry? Why are you sad? What made you sad? And you know, a lot of our black men, they were taught not to feel.
Yeah.
Or if you feel sad, you suck it up.
Right, like suck it up, be a man.
And then when they
Yeah.
get older, they don't know how to express themselves.
Yeah.
And then it
Very
leaves,
damaging.
yeah, it leaves the struggle for their spouse to pull things out of them.
Yeah.
And some spouses, they don't have that in them to
Yeah.
stick around. They'll be like,
Yeah.
you know what, you're a brick wall, I don't have time. But
Yeah.
you gotta look back to how he was raised. And this is in our black and Latino communities, heavy.
Yeah. And our mom, it just makes me think about what our mom says, like, when we have our...
It's done to girls too.
Right,
Oh, yeah.
but it's both ways. But when we have our opinions on things like...
Oh, questions? Hold on.
Okay, on our thing, let me get this real quick. What are things about, when there are things that we're like...
Erica Neal said, I'm sorry, Lacy. She said she's going to try that talking calmly. Thanks for the information.
Yeah, talking calmly when you're happy and talking calmly when mad. Because when you
No
show that
matter what.
consistency, yes.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to be vulnerable and a protector at the same time.
That's
I
an
don't think
excuse.
so.
It's an excuse
Yeah.
because you can be. Listen, you're talking to a retired.
This man said, I ain't cried in 3 years.
Wow,
That's not good.
sad.
That's not good. But
I shouldn't laugh.
let her respond to that last one real quick.
You can still be vulnerable and be a protector. I served in the United States Army for 4.5 years. Okay, I'm a qualified sharpshooter.
Okay.
Okay, can I not protect my battle buddies and myself and be vulnerable at the same time? I can.
Yes, you can.
And I mean,
And not,
that gender bias.
I was gonna say, not to mention, women do it every day. For those women who feel like they need to be strong, and those single moms, they're protectors of their children and their family, but they're still women. They're emotional beings. They're vulnerable.
Get rid of that strong black woman
Right.
myth. It's a
Right.
myth.
Right.
There's no such thing.
I think that's definitely for anybody, man or woman. You can be a protector and be vulnerable and be nurturing and be everything you need to be for your family.
And the thing is,
You know?
you're not being vulnerable with the world. You're being vulnerable to your spouse, to
Right.
the one that's going to hold you
Your
down.
loved one.
And it's
Right.
all a matter of what you're willing to do and what you're not willing to do.
As long as she knows that she's secure and that she is protected, there's no way that you can say that I can't be vulnerable and protect
Who are
her.
you trying to prove that to?
Who?
You trying to
Nobody.
prove that to the world.
To the
but
world.
what you need to be proven to is the one that's laying next to you.
Right. Exactly.
So you can be vulnerable and you can protect at the same time.
Exactly. So let me see. I thought I saw. Did Yaya say something else after that one paragraph she sent? I thought I saw something different. Oh, I guess anyway. But yeah, to touch on your questions, Yaya, that's what Miss Lacy had to say about that. I definitely agree with you can be a protector and be vulnerable at the same time. About how men are taught to hide their emotions, how women think that they have to be this strong black woman, like any basic human emotions.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? We all have them. We're all the same on the inside. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of stigma, a lot of being raised the wrong way. Or
I wouldn't say the wrong way because they're raised the
certain
best
way.
way.
a certain way.
Their parents knew how to
No.
raise them, but
Oh yeah, that's
It
what I
can
was gonna
be-
say.
it can be changed. You
Yeah.
just gotta be willing
Willing.
to change and know that there's an issue.
Which is what I was gonna say before we started reading the comments, that our mom talks to us about that a lot, about how, say for instance, we have somebody that we're getting into it with, and we've passed our judgment on them because they've showed us their colors, and we know that they're this way, like they're always angry or they're always yelling, and immediately in the beginning we're like, no, like I'm not dealing with that. There's no excuse. They know sometimes they can be nice. They know that it's wrong. They know that everybody is like pushing everybody away. And then she'll come back and be like, but why is he like that? Or why is she like that? Do you know what they went through as a child? Do you know how they were raised or what went on in their home? Do you know what their parents went through? What if they weren't raised what if they were raised the same way? You know what I'm saying? She goes back into it, and it brings a different perspective because you feel how you feel about them in the present because of what you've seen of them. But at the same time, now that she's opened it up to like, you know, she always gets us to view that back history. Like, they're like that because this happened to them. And then it makes sense. And then you think about, well, then your perspective changes like, oh, well, I would love to help that person break out of those ways. You know what I'm saying? So it changes like for me, that's changed my whole perspective on some stuff. Like, I just can't. But at the same time, like, walking on eggshells with that person because...
One last question. What do you do when you're dealing with somebody that refuses to believe that they've been through childhood trauma and downplays it and act like they're just this normal human being who never went through anything and that's crazy, I never seen this or whatever?
That's when you'll have to let time take its course. And in that process of time, that's when a question comes to mind, I mean, you can't really ask it right then and there. Write down these questions. And when you have pillow talk, I mean, I know you have time where you're laying down and you're talking. Like, hey, so I remember you saying that, you know, you weren't abused physically, but, you know, your mom will call you this and call you that. You know, that's still a form of abuse, right?
Right. Getting
Break
to
it down
realize.
And it's not so much as you pointing the finger. It's just saying, you know, remember you said this? Well, I know when my moms would say this to me, it would make me feel this way. Like, you didn't feel that way? It's being gentle with them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, especially if they come from, you know, a really rugged background, they don't know what gentleness is.
Yeah.
And if you're gentle, oh, you trying to take my kindness for weakness and da-da-da-da-da, or you trying to get over on me. No, you got to be gentle with them. And just, if you know, something that they've gone through in the past, write it down. And then when you have downtime to where, you know, nothing's really on your mind, nothing really is on their mind, you can run down the list, ask a few questions here, a few questions there, and help them to see. Because once you paint the picture for them, they're able to see it more clearly.
Right.
And then they'll be like, okay, you know, I never thought of it like that.
And I take that approach a lot, like I was saying, back to how I have to put a narcissist, like if I'm dealing with that at that time, in my shoes to get them to see. Same thing with that. I think that approach is effective for me, especially being the type of person I am. Like, I'm very passive and I speak very softly. And like, before I'm gonna argue with you, I'm gonna be calm. I'm gonna try to talk to you, and if you can't do that with me and I'm being calm with you, I'm not gonna speak to you at all. When you can come back to me when you've calmed down, you learn how to talk like you got some sense, because I'm not doing that to you. Yeah. Show me the same respect. And then when we do talk and I find the right moment, like, I'll wait. I'll let it die down, and I'll wait, like you said, pillow talk or something like that, and find the right moment, and I'll be gentle, and I'll take a different approach at saying it. Like, I won't come off and be like, that is what that is, because you went through this, and now look at you. You don't even realize it. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah, not to say I haven't. I've done that, but it hasn't been effective.
I've done it too.
Yeah, it hasn't been effective. So when I come from a different approach, and I'm just like, well, you know, like, I know you've been through a lot. We all been through a lot, you know.
And share your experience.
Yes, and I try to relate in some type of way and try to get them. I think that's very effective.
And then also know that you won't always get a response, and you might sometimes get a, you know what, I don't even want to talk about that right now. Respect it.
Let them, yeah.
And they'll come back to you and be like, well, you know, when we were talking the other night.
That's true.
Just go with it.
That's very true. Come back and talk about it when they're ready, and they'll be more open.
Yeah.
I agree. That's very, very helpful. Getting back to our viewers over here, thank you all who have joined us. We've been talking with Lacy here. She's a mental health consultant. She has her own firm. We've been getting a couple of questions and comments from you guys. Thank you for sending those in. Keep them coming. We've had 3 topics that we've spoken about, which we're pretty much wrapping up now. It was what are the signs of postpartum depression, and then we went on to talk about different forms of depression other than postpartum, the different signs, how your spouse can support you, and what type of things they should be doing to help you out, if that's somebody who cares about you. We talked about self-help for those single moms and bomb moms out there who don't have any support. Body self-esteem, self-efficacy. We've talked about pride and narcissism in relationships and how they affect the relationships. Well, obviously, it's mostly. I think they were just coughing.
Yes, it's a cough.
Sorry, guys, we're moms. all of us froze. Nobody breathed.
Hold on, do I need to stick a pinky down somebody's throat?
Okay. But yeah, so we've been talking about how those two things affect the relationship, which is mostly negative, toxic traits. And we also went on to talk about the most effective ways to discipline your children. Lacy has been telling us about attachment parenting,
yes,
which is something we know of, but I didn't know the proper name. That's attachment parenting. And she's gave us some really good advice on how to discipline our children with positive and negative reinforcement and positive and negative punishment. She's taught us the differences and how we can be more consistent in that and other areas of life, like love and other things. So thank you for all of that information, Lacy. I'm so happy you came. No problem. You gotta come and see us again.
Yes, definitely.
Gotta come see us again. We couldn't wait. This show was supposed to be a week or two ago, and we were so excited. So we finally got on here.
Well, we're gonna plan another one.
We're definitely gonna plan another one because we're missing our other bomb mom, Kemi. She wasn't feeling too well. So we'll be back again. Miss Lacy hopefully will be back again at some point in time. And we can go ahead and pick her brain again on this mental health, you guys. It's not a negative thing. It's not.
It's very real. People die from it.
It's real. She's talking to somebody. It's real. It's real. Not only is it real, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. We need to be more open about mental health. It's not something that, it's just like your physical health. You got to take care of your mental health. It definitely will. I mean, it affects you in other ways. So for all of you who have joined us, thank you again. Does anybody know how many minutes we have left on the show?
None. She said 10 minutes like an hour ago.
Oh, she did? Okay, well.
But I put my information down in the comments. I have a self-help, mental health motivational group called Motivational Insiders Tribe. And in the tribe, we break the mental health stigma. We talk about things that are uncomfortable. We talk about healing from our childhood. We talk about anxiety. We talk about schizophrenia. DID is dissociative identity disorder. Bipolar. We talk about everything.
Okay.
So and also if you need help, mental health help, you can reach out to the website, which is www.restassuredconsultingllc.com. You can also Google me. Also you can find me on Lacy Taylor. LACEYTAYLOR.
Do you have a face? The name of that's the name of the face. That's your Facebook. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay,
Lacy Taylor.
Okay, yeah. So thank you again for joining us. I hope you guys got all of that information down. Go ahead and hit Miss Lacy up. Go and talk to her about all of your mental health concerns and issues. She's very delightful. She's so cool.
She's so smart.
She's very smart, and she's a bomb mom. She's a bomb mom. So she's perfect, okay? Perfect to join our little group here to get us rolling. We hope to see you guys again and have more conversations about this because, like I said, these are topics that need to be had about, or conversations need to be had about mental health.
We gotta break that stigma.
That's right. We have to open that line of communication. These conversations are important, and people are either uncomfortable or don't believe in it. And I think that is not good at all. As a society,
scary.
As a generation,
your brain controls everything.
Okay, and especially for our
not your
generation,
heart, your brain.
We're all in our teens here, okay? Especially for this generation, I feel like I've seen a lot of social media and technology related suicides and people and doing stuff, young kids too. And I just feel like if this was open and out there, it would be easier to have these conversations and hopefully prevent suicides and things like that. It's sad.
It's preventable. Mental health is preventable, and there is hope. Right. Just because you're sad today does not mean you'll be sad tomorrow.
Okay, you guys? So get up out of that depressed mood because I'm not depressed now. I'm happy. talk. No, she's been really helpful, and as you can tell, we've been applying it to our personal lives. So you've helped us a lot. Thank you again.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next time. You guys, thank you all for joining. Have a good night. Bye, you guys.
I don't know how to get out of here. Oh.